Welcome back, everyone, to this week's edition of Inside Out. Sorry we were running a little bit late. It never fails. Just when you think you have everything together, technical difficulties love to jump in and help me along. So some things are not quite working as smoothly as possible, but I don't pretend to be a professional, and I do not pretend that this goes smoothly every week. So you're going to notice that there is no scroll at the bottom of the screen. So I will put up the meetings coming up that you can look forward to. The only one for September is Hanover Boroughs, which you'll see is tomorrow. I forget the time, but I'll put up there, and I will get that out to you. And then there's a bunch of other meetings coming this week, or at the beginning of October. It is so hard to believe that September has flown by like it has. It is just really, it's amazing. Time flies. I'm not really sure if I'm having fun yet or not, but hopefully till the end of this, I will feel like I am, and you will have enjoyed yourself a little bit too. Our quote for this week is, "Truth is like a surgery. It hurts, but it heals. A lie is like a painkiller. It gives instant relief, but has side effects forever." Hey, Joy, thanks for joining me. Hi, Charlotte. Hi, Bill. I appreciate if you're checking this out. I do ask that you please feel free to share the live stream, and also in the post at the top, I've put the YouTube channel. Nothing live is going on out on YouTube. If you want to share things to people who don't have Facebook, you can go to the YouTube channel. Essentially, anything that has the new blue intro screen, the Inside Out, is on YouTube. If someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I went back and I looked at this episode," or "Can you share that episode?" I will upload it, but I'm not going to go backwards and try and upload everything. But I will try to get everything forward going on. There's a lot to cover, but I don't want to overwhelm. So that's why we're trying to break this down into 30-minute or so weekly segments. Hi, Mrs. Furlong. Thanks for joining us. Always get a little nervous when Mrs. Furlong joins in, because I feel like at the end I should expect a grade, and I hope it's a good one. We are coming into the election. We're 42 days until the general election. So if there's still time to register to vote, if you haven't, we'll make sure to push out that link. My daughter, I was very proud of her, just got her confirmation email that she is now officially registered, and her card will be coming in the mail. So super, super proud that she'll be voting this time around. This is the time of the year when you're going to expect canvassing, door knocking, phone calls. And I know that's not something you would expect to see normally for a municipal election, but really expected it this time, folks. In case some of you aren't aware, most of you should be. I'm going to hide my video screen behind this, so give me just a second. These are the 5 candidates who are running for the open seats, McSherrystown Borough Council. It's Mark Lookenbill. He's seeking a 4-year term. Dan Colgan, 4-year term. William F. Smith Jr., my husband, 4-year term. George Staub is a 4-year term. And Joyce Murrin, many of you know as Joy, is seeking a 2-year term. All 5 of these names are going to be printed on the ballot. Mark, Dan, and Bill, for the 4-year terms, are going to show up as both Republican and Democrat. George did not get the write-in vote for the Republican, but he did get the write-in vote for the Democrat. He was completely running a write-in campaign when he realized there was a vacant seat still left. So please look for him as a Democratic candidate. And Joyce Murrin also obtained the Republican and Democrat slots for the 2-year term. So look for those names printed on the ballot. Get a good idea of who these people are. Please try and reach out to them. It's really important that you come out and vote, but it's even more important that you know who you're voting for and why. Looking back, the last 15 months or so, when people have been, coming to figure out what's going on and looking at the McSherrystown Borough Council. Sorry, I keep hitting the wrong button. It has just been that kind of day. They keep saying, who's running and why is this so important? If you look back over the last 15 months or so, and say, what has the council done? Why they're coming up for re-election? Why should we re-elect them? That's really a good question that you need to get answers for. I am supporting the 5 candidates that I put up: Mark, Dan, Bill, George, and Joy, because I know where they stand going forward. They've seen what I've seen. They've been attending the meetings. They've been looking into other things on their own. What's okay? What's not okay? Borough code. What are other boroughs doing? And communities around us, municipalities around us. What does the Sunshine Law say? What are things that we're doing that we need to do better? What are things that we're doing that we need to maybe we've been doing it and it's not so great. Let me see if I have this here, because if not, I might have to switch back to the other screen, because this is something that's really important. This is the scroll that's normally on the bottom, and it tells you when the meetings are for the area boroughs. And I added Penn Township on there. Look at McSherrystown Borough. We have 1 meeting a month that's public and publicized. Hanover Borough, their committee meetings are open to the public. Conewago Township, committee meetings and workshops prior to the Board of Supervisor meetings open. Penn Township, the same thing. In the links that I posted at the top of this, when you go out and you look at this as a recording, you will find that I put some up there that have the agenda for Hanover Borough's coming up meeting for tomorrow night. That is up there, and that is at 7 o'clock. Sorry, I'm squinting a little bit. I don't have my readers on. My bifocals make me shift my head funny. Also put a link up there to Gettsburg Borough's agendas, and I don't think I put their meeting minutes, but it's really interesting. They include in their agenda, when they're disclosing an executive session, and the detail they put in for their executive session is phenomenal. I wish that there was a set standard and that was it that we could take around. I don't know how other things are done in Gettsburg Borough, so I'm not commenting on the day-to-days. I'm just saying, when I look at their agenda and I look at their meeting minutes, they are really what you'd expect to see on that kind of a level. Yes, thank you, Mary. I try to remind everybody to vote as often as possible, just because it really is important this election more so than any. But if you're out there listening and you're like, I'm not registered to vote, and there are people that can help you, friends and neighbors, so please register. But back to these meetings and why you should be voting is, we're under-informing our community dramatically. And I guess there could be an argument that could be made to say, well, nobody shows up. Well, you're right. Nobody showed up because you're not telling us anything. So we go to the meetings. In the past, you push things through. You don't give us any details. We point it out to you. Nothing's going to change. So why bang our head against the wall? I get that sentiment. I really, really do. Nothing's going to change. But we now have an opportunity to change. You have Dan Colgan, who is, technology. That's his thing. He could help reshape the website, get ordinances up there like Penn Township. They have their ordinances, and I think it might be Gettsburg has ordinances and resolutions up there. They have other boroughs and townships around us have a lot of information on their website. Their calendars, their agendas for upcoming meetings, their meeting minutes are posted. We're just getting our meeting minutes posted this year, and honestly, I'm not sure how up to date they are. It's really kind of frustrating when you look at the level of Hanover Borough, Conewago Township, Penn Township, our nearest neighbors, and the amount of information that they're trying to get out to their people, whether they come to the meeting or not. They're still doing their due diligence, and we're not making those very basic efforts to get that information out, which is why it's important that you be informed and be aware and know what's going on in your borough council, because you have to look and say, have the people that are sitting there that are up for re-election, have they done everything they can to earn your vote? The statements made, well, we haven't raised taxes in however long. Well, you haven't raised taxes in however long, but you also are underpaying our department dramatically. And I wanted to point that out because I just saw an ad for Conewago Township. They're hiring for an officer, and one of their big selling points is competitive wages. We can't say that. We're not even competitive with Conewago Township. And, so maybe our taxes haven't been raised in the borough for however long, but if we're undercutting our public safety, our police department, if we're not keeping up our parks and recreation, if we're not maintaining our borough properties, and that includes painting the curbs and doing these other maintenance projects, is that something that helps us to say, well, we haven't raised taxes in forever? Don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating for raising taxes. I'd like to see them stay low as long as possible. But I do want to make sure that we are using our money responsibly. And that's just it. I can't tell you that we are, because we don't know how our money's being spent. And even this past December, here we are approaching October. There have been no budget workshops. Last December, you had your budget approved, and admittedly, nobody knew what was in the budget outside their own little area, so they're trusting each other's doing and not having input. The other alternative is they are discussing it and they know what's in there, but they're doing it outside of meetings. And either of those scenarios isn't okay. So later in January, February, March, April, when something comes up for discussion, oh, well, we purchased this new computer, or we're going to pull this trigger and purchase this computer. And you say, wait a minute, when did you discuss that? Oh, well, it was in the budget back in December. Oh, you mean the budget that you didn't talk to anybody about? Nobody knew what was in it? I'm not saying that buying a computer is a bad thing. I'm saying non-disclosure of items and then saying later, but we put that in the budget. That is a problem. So please, please, please talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, encourage them to vote, spread the importance of, help get the word out for the people who are not really paying attention, who aren't on social media, who might not know about the things going on. Help fill them in. If getting information to them and saying, hey, these are the candidates, do you know who they are, and they don't, feel free to reach out to the candidates. The candidates will make the time to speak with people if they know that that they're looking for information. They are hesitant in a town where everybody to push in on people and talk to them about things they don't want to know about, which I get. Everybody, and either they're aware or they're not aware. And so there's this protection bubble of, we don't want to gossip and we don't want to talk because we don't want to do what they're doing. But they need to inform the voters and make them understand why it need to come out. Back in May for the primary, it was, a lot of people came out, and I was really proud to see how many people came out. It was still dramatically less than are registered. But then after the primary, people are like, oh, you guys made the ballot. Your husband made the ballot. That's great. I see the candidates, won their primary slot. So it's all good, right? No, it's not all good. They're just on the ballot now. They need those same people plus more to come out and vote in the general election, because they want to take care and get that information out to you. They want to have the meetings in public and record them and stream them and push them out there, hopefully on multiple platforms. So even if you're not on Facebook and you want to know, maybe there's still an opportunity to see that or view that. Have agendas pushed out early. So that way, if there is something coming up that you do want to talk about or ask questions about, I think it was Gettsburg that I saw that on their workshop meeting minutes, their agenda, they pushed out resolutions coming up and gave the public an opportunity to talk, and ask questions about things that were on the agenda, slated as new business or old business. That's a phenomenal idea. Give them the opportunity and a platform to speak. Another thing I saw was that a lot of the other boroughs and townships have public comment at the end. But from having attended some of those meetings, I know before they take a vote, not table, before they take a vote, they give an opportunity for people to ask questions or make comments, because that's what they're supposed to do. And I understand, I'm sitting here saying to you, that's not the way we do it here. I get, and there's some charm and some, I like being that we're individuals and we're not a cookie cutter, but we're not listening to the community. We're not giving the community a chance to have an input. You're not setting up an environment that's welcoming for the community to come in and have an input. And that's what these 5 candidates, Mark and Dan and George and Bill and Joy, are trying to change. It's not going to change overnight. Even if all 5 get elected, it's not going to change overnight. They're still going to need to earn the trust of the community sitting in those seats. And they're still going to need to show you that it's not going to be more of the same and that things can change. And that is something that I heard a lot of. Oh, I really appreciate you getting out there and doing what you're doing, but this is the way it's always been. It's never going to change. Well, it doesn't need to be that way. That and that's just not a McSherrystown issue either. That goes along into the Eisenhower Drive Extension project. We talked a little bit about that previously, and I do want to hit a couple of those things. We're pushing 20 minutes in, and I'm sorry I ran a little long on that, but this is very, very important. I'm hearing a lot of people, and I am getting people reaching out from Hanover and Penn Township and even McSherrystown who are saying, well, McSherrystown, this is a win for you, or they think it's a win here in McSherrystown. And really, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing any evidence of that. There's 2 paths plus the no build that could potentially affect McSherrystown. One is the one that would go through Hanover up 94 and come in Elm Avenue and come down Main Street. The other one is the one that will run from We Care Best out to Earl Black's garage, I think it's Nick's garage now, and run right along the back of Sherry Village. And you say, well, how does that one affect McSherrystown? There's a lot of development that's planned around these projects, and that's not me supposing. I've seen the minutes, I've seen the conversations, I've talked to many people in Conawago. There's a lot of development that is holding back, waiting bated breath to see if the Conawago alignment gets approved. How will that affect McSherrystown? Well, everybody's saying we need this because of congestion. Well, if we get that development, the congestion's not going to be fixed. Even if we get the Conawago, and even if it's a limited access, that's not going to fix the congestion in McSherrystown. The plan in the project is to divert commercial traffic and divert some residential traffic off of Main Street, McSherrystown, to an alternative route. But we're still going to have commercial trucks that come through McSherrystown, and we still have a lot of population. We're a dense area that's going to come through McSherrystown. A bypass isn't going to necessarily fix that, especially if there's development. You have 720 lots already approved for development. You had a rezoning of 490 acres. You now have a new development, Conawago Estates or Acres, I forget the name of it, is pending development based on hearing the details of the approval or not. And sorry, I got distracted by some questions, and I will come back to answer some of those because they are very good questions. So as we get further down the path, if the Conawago alignment looks more and more development plans are going to pop up. So how does that hurt McSherrystown? We share resources with Conawago. We share water because it's provided by Hanover. Sorry, my cat's playing with things and he just knocked something off the table. We share water. We share emergency services through the fire company, and we're in the school district. The school district is going to need to expand to handle the proposed development. And they're not going to expand in 5 or 10 years. They're going to have to plan for that expansion in 5 or 10 years, but they're going to have to budget for it now. Same with the fire company. There's already a proposed increase in Conawago Township because and it was discussed at the McSherrystown meeting, for an increase in taxes to support the need for the fire company to grow. That's going to affect McSherrystown. If there's needed infrastructure for the water and sewer, any of those shared facilities are going to need to be upgraded or added onto, and that's going to affect Hanover Borough. Because we share resources, that will affect us. We saw it at the last meeting when we got a bill for $432 for our share of the software management upgrade. You don't think we're going to see that for the infrastructure upgrade? McSherrystown loses because we're not going to get any of the development fees. We're not going to get any of the building. We're not going to get any of the increased tax revenue, but we are going to get a share of the increased services needs. And with all the development, we're not going to have our congestion problem fixed. So we're going to be where we are or worse. So there is going to be a lot more conversation about the Eisenhower Drive extension project between now and the supposed decision, the deadline, the answer. That's supposed to come in December, I believe. Haven't seen anything officially in writing on that yet. I did reach out to PennDOT and ask them. I don't know if they're going to answer me, but I am going to try to get that. So there are a lot of reasons why we need to pay attention to the Eisenhower Drive extension and say, okay, well, if you don't like either of those and you're, say, advocating for no build, which is what I am saying, that I support no build, how's that going to fix our problem with the congestion? It's not, but it's not going to add to it either. The TSM is financially devastating for Hanover. They made that case, and I agree completely with it. It would wipe out a large part of their properties, which is their tax base. They don't have room to grow to offset that loss. It would take out a large part of their historic district, and it would be financially hurtful to Hanover. In the same regard, the Conawago alignment or the 5C alignment will be financially harmful both to residents of McSherrystown and of Conawago Township. So the only answer that I have right now is let's not make things worse. That's why I'm advocating for the no build. I'm trying to get all the information and get it out to you. If I hear of any public meetings, but the question that you need to answer, and this goes back to the election, I encourage as many people as possible to come to their October meetings and ask them, why aren't you talking to us about this? In McSherrystown, we heard nothing. Conawago, I believe, has heard very little from their elected representatives. Municipalities were invited to the table to talk to PennDOT. They've been given opportunities to come in and get information and be kept updated to know what is going on. We're hearing nothing about that from our elected officials. So I guess the question is, why aren't we hearing about that? And if they're not sharing this with us, what else aren't they sharing with us? And maybe that's why we need to look at electing new people to sit in those seats. Mary asked when this year's budget will be presented. Well, as of last year, it was presented in November and approved in December. Bill answered that, but And as far as the rumor, Mary, everybody, the bypass, the north, and yes, that is something that was sent out by someone. We don't know who it is. It is definitely not a PennDOT proposal, at least not an official PennDOT proposal. That is a bit that's going on, but I really think the reason behind that document that was sent out, that mailing, was to whip McSherrystown kind of in a frenzy to say not in my backyard. And looks like I lost the stream. We're back. To say not in my backyard and push it to the Conawago alignment being the one that would least affect us. But really, people need to understand that the Conawago alignment is as devastating to McSherrystown as the TSM is to Hanover. Charlotte says it's collateral damage. McSherrystown is essentially collateral damage. Donna, thanks. You agree with the no build, So please keep reaching out to me, folks. I really want to thank everybody who has at this point. It's been private messages or talking to me or calling me or texting me or emailing me or Facebooking. If there's something that's important to you, it's important to me, especially if you're in McSherrystown or one of our neighbors, because we don't live in a bubble. We have to keep an eye on what's going on around us, not to stir up trouble, not to cause problems. I understand. I've been labeled a troublemaker and a fact twister and all these other kinds of things. But if we don't have the information, if we're not given the information, we're left to either find it on our own or come up with the worst case scenario, best case scenario situation. So I'm really, really looking, to you guys to help direct me for what content we have on here, because it's important to me that it's informative, not just another 20 to 30 minutes that's eaten up by something else in your week. So please, if you haven't registered to vote, please get out and register to vote. If you are registered to vote, please do everything you can to make sure that you get to the polls on November 5th. And, I did forget something. I need to go back to the one page. Oops, sorry. I'm going to take the quote down here a second, because this is coming up October 26th. This is very important. Drug Take Back. This is a community program. The McSherrystown Police Department are sponsoring this year. It's at the Moose Lodge from 10 to 2. I've been there the last 2 or 3 times. It's twice a year. So please come out and see me. Some of the candidates may be out there. Our police officers are definitely going to be out there. So you want to make sure that you get out and say hello and thank them for their time. I'll be putting that up more and more as we get closer. Our next episode will be next Tuesday, October 1st, and I apologize that I'm kind of scattered and unorganized this week. I'll do better next week, I promise. Our next Borough Council meeting is Wednesday, October 9th at 7 p.m. I do want to remind people, there are people in Hanover that have reached out, and I know that they support the no build. I know that there are people in Conewago Township that support the no build. I believe that some of the people who have talked to me about the no build are also in Penn Township. Sorry, I was getting ready to sneeze and tried to stifle it. I know that there are people in McSherrystown that support the no build. If you see a no build meeting pop up or information about that, it doesn't matter where you live. If you support the no build, you're affected by the way these things go. If you share resources and your taxes could be impacted, you're welcome to reach out. I think it's Stop the Eisenhower Drive extent page is there. You can reach out to them. I have no direct information. Like, I get information from there. I talk to the administrators of the page. I try to pass along the information that they give me, but they're really running the show with that. And you should also be talking to your elected representatives. If you're in Penn Township or Hanover Borough, they signed a resolution denouncing the TSM, which is the Hanover proposed route that comes through the middle of McSherrystown, Main Street, McSherrystown. But they also support formally and officially the 5C. And I think if PennDOT was done and this was over and there was nothing left to be said, those municipalities wouldn't have needed to put forth a resolution to get their point across. I do think PennDOT really put the TSM on the table just to show it wasn't an option. They're completely ignoring the no build, but we have to do everything we can to make sure our voices are heard. And then if they ignore us, then we need to make sure that our elected representatives know that they can't ignore us going forward. So that's all that we're going to do for this week. I want to thank you for your time. Sorry if we've had some lagginess. Tomorrow night's 25th, 7 p.m. Hanover Borough meeting. And then other than that, we'll see you next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Thanks so much. Have a good evening, good night, and God bless.